Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Mike Beer. Race number 10 at Tampa Bay Downs on Saturday is the Grade 3 Endeavour Stakes, one of a plethora of stakes races at Tampa Bay on Sam F. Davis Saturday. Best way to get involved is with a DRF Bets account. Sign up at bets.drf.com, deposit $50, bet with $200. Here's the field for the Grade 3 Endeavour. These are fillies and mares traveling a mile and a 16th. Big scratch to announce. The number 8 Rimska expected to withdraw from this race and run at Gulfstream Park on Saturday in the Swanee River. It makes this race a better betting race.
It does make it a better betting race, although I guess that's a twofold proposition, because not only do you have Rimska out of here, who I just thought was going to be really tough to beat, but now you have a horse in Hawksmoor who feels like she'll be a pretty prohibitive favorite with that horse out. I know Hawksmoor, has a lot of things going for her on paper. I know, to me, if she's going to be a short price in this race, so I think it makes it an even better betting race, because I don't know how short a price I would take on her.
Let's throw up the Timeform U.S. pace projector for this race, because in my opinion, this is the key to the race.
Yeah.
Hawksmoor has not won since 2017. While she ran some good races last year, you could argue that she underperformed in key spots. Sure. And at the age of 6, one has to also wonder if maybe Hawksmoor's best days are behind her. However, dropping a little bit in class and getting this advantageous pace scenario could lead her to victory. I understand everything you're saying, though, about not wanting to take a horse that might not be very dependable at a very short price.
Yeah, I just don't like the races she ran last year. And obviously, she was graded stakes placed multiple times. When you look at her on paper, even though she went 0 for 6, and now you look at this field, her last 2 starts last year were grade 3. This is a grade 3. But this is a huge class drop for this horse. Yeah. There's no Rimska, there's no Uni, there's no Quadura, Sister Charlie. The horse she was running against last year, just light years better than these horses. I didn't like necessarily any of her races last year. I thought she had some soft trips and wasn't nearly as good as she was the prior year. It doesn't mean she's not going to beat this field, Dan, and maybe she'll get right to the front and she's just better than these horses and she'll win. To me, I'm using her defensively within the race. I am trying to beat this horse. I do not like her form at all from last year.
3.5-month layoff as well she's going to have to deal with. Let's talk about the rest of the field in post position order, beginning with the runner that we have in the second position on the Timeform U.S. pace projector after the opening half mile. That's the number 1. She's Pretty Lucky. Blinkers come off for trainer Eddie Keneally. Last time out, I thought it was all in all a pretty good trip. The horse that beat her came back to run 3rd in a starter optional claimer within 83. I think she can work out another good trip in here. Yeah. I'm just not sure whether she's good enough at this point.
Yeah, I don't see her being good enough, especially on the turf. And I know if you want to look at it and say, well, the last one over this turf course is the best turf race she's ever run. I mean, I guess okay. I thought she had a really soft trip on the lead in there. They weren't going fast. It was a tight pack. She was in control. She got second at the end. I don't even think she ran the second best race in there necessarily. I don't see how she can beat this field.
A horse that might need some pace is the deep closer on the pace projector. That's the number 2, Get Explicit, who's probably going to be coming from far back and would be at a disadvantage if Hawksmoor is able to walk the dog on the lead. That being said, while Hawksmoor's the horse to beat, Get Explicit might be the horse to bet. I really like the form she was in for trainer Barb Minchell towards the end of last year. She ran a good second in the Grade 2 Mrs. Revere, and that showed that long shot, good performance in the Valley View was no fluke.
Yeah, she ran really well in the Valley View. That was not a good post that she had in there, so they had to take her all the way back in that race. She actually ran really well. She came wide while the winner, Colonia, got through on the inside. Really good effort. She ran fine last time. I didn't feel like when I watched the race that she loved the yielding ground that day, but she still ran a good race. I don't think she has to be, way out of it. If you go back to that race at Woodbine over 7 furlongs in October, she sat right up close to the pace. She has done that in the past as well, and now that she's drawn inside, I'm just hoping she stays a little bit closer. I think she's a big player in this race.
I think Bonnie Arch is dirtied up a little bit. Maybe she's not classy enough to win this race, but at 15-1 on the morning line or thereabouts at post time, I would consider using her at the very least underneath. I liked her race at Ellis Park 3 starts back. That was a pretty fast pace. She prompted on Betty G, a nice horse. She attacked, and she finished okay. She wouldn't be the first horse in the world that didn't like Kentucky Downs. And then at Churchill last time out, I just think she hated the yielding going.
Yeah, it feels like maybe the given the ground really worked against her. So far, when they've bumped her up into stakes races outside the Ellis race, it's been a little bit too tough for her. I wonder if that will be the case here. But she's got to run better than she did in her last 2 starts.
I made the 4 Monte Cristo an out-of-the-gate horse watch after her performance in the Tawi Stakes, where she just had a terrible trip, just wide throughout, and was still running at the end, finishing 3rd, and you were able to benefit because you bet her at 4-1 in the risk averse, and she had the softest trip in the world. She sat 2nd off a 70-1 shot, she took over, and she was able to make hay. After that race, nothing's gone right. Blame the soft ground if you want and the pebbles.
Sure.
But then she was listed as a vet scratch in late November at Woodbine and came back with an extremely disappointing performance at 7-2 in the Marshalls River.
Sure.
Now we get blinkers. Is it just a situation where Michael Trombetta is trying to do something, anything to wake this horse up?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that is the case. We'll see if she can turn it around, because at the beginning of her career, her first, 4 or 5 turf starts, she ran well in all of those races, and then her last 2, for whatever reason, she just hasn't run well. I think there are ways to make excuses for it, Dan. It's got to be way too early to give up on her, because you know that she has some ability. She's a new 4-year-old now. She's supposed to be heading forward. If she can take even a small step forward in this race, she can get a piece of this.
And the good Monte Cristo could be sharp enough to sit just off Hawksmoor. And if you believe Hawksmoor's done, Monte Cristo's in prime position turning into the stretch. Another horse that could work on a similar trip if she runs in this race is Conquest Hard-Candy, who is also cross-entered in the Swanee River. And as of right now, we have no idea where Conquest Hard-Candy is going to run. She was taken back off the pace last time out in that South Beach. I thought she got blind switched a bit on the far turn in between horses. Once she came outside, she finished evenly. She has shown speed in the past.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with her if they run her in this race, because they could just put her on ascend and make the lead in here, and she could be really dangerous in that scenario. Although, it does sort of feel like Hawksmoor is probably not just going to concede to her, but we'll see what they decide to do. They took her back last time. I thought she ran fine. The race 2 back, I mean, she was best in that race. She got totally blocked in the stretch, nowhere to go. It's not as poor a performance as it looks like it is on paper. Is she a true graded stakes kind of horse? I've never thought so when I watched her run, but she can be dangerous in this race.
Well, Viva Vegas was beaten at odds-on at Tampa Bay last time out. My opinion is that Nacho Correas was simply using that race as a prep. I doubt that Viva Vegas was 100% tight for that effort. And if we get the Viva Vegas that ran in the Violet at Monmouth, a 93 Beyer speed figure behind the solid enough Alicia's World, who would be one of the favorites in this spot, Viva Vegas has a chance to upset. It's just that she doesn't win very often.
Yeah, that's a problem for her. She doesn't win very often. And I guess you're right. The last race, if you want to use her somewhere, you just have to look at that race the way you're looking at it.
Because it was disappointing.
Because she was bad in that race. She got a good trip. The pace wasn't fast. She actually had the lead in the stretch, and she got outfinished by both the 1 and the 2 finishers in there. That was a disappointing performance, but she's better than that. She can be forward in this race. I've always liked her. I know that she likes this turf course too. I don't think I'd be using her on top in this race, Dan, but I could use her underneath.
Interesting to see the 9 Good Year for Roses back in the entries. We have not seen her since November 2017 when she was overmatched in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. This is a mare that has done some very good things in her career. She is a graded stakes winner. After the 2017 Breeders' Cup, she went through the auction ring. She was bought back for $375,000, and she has disappeared. This might be a good spot off the layoff, considering it's not the strongest graded stake in the world, but I need to see one off the bench.
I mean, I feel the same way about her. I know that if she, for some reason, if she shows up here and is ready to go and runs her best race, I mean, she just might be the best horse in this race right now. It's a pretty tough proposition for me to take. She's been away for so long, and now she's 7 years old, but she's got plenty of races to make her a handful in here.
Couldn't find the excuse for Street with No Name, a Southern California transplant for Owen Hardy in her local debut. I thought she sat a good trip. Maybe there wasn't a lot of pace for her to rally at, but I wanted to see some kick in the stretch. Her Beyer speed figures recently just pale in comparison to those of the top contenders. Maybe she can improve slightly second off the layoff.
Maybe she can. As of now, what she's done on the turf, it doesn't really make her a contender in this race.
Bombshell comes out of a solid enough edition of the Grade 3 Marshalls River at Gulfstream Park. The 5th place finisher of that race came back to win a starter optional with an 84 Beyer speed figure. But when you look at her from a fig standpoint, she's kind of a low to mid 80s horse, and if Hawksmoor shows up, if 1 or 2 of these other horses show up, she's going to have to run 10 points faster.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, listen, what she's done on turf so far since they switched her over, I mean, I guess it's fine. She hasn't really run any bad races. I just don't look at her and feel like she's going to be winning graded stakes anytime soon.
Pick time for the Endeavour, race number 10 at Tampa Bay on Saturday. I don't really like this race at all. I think Hawksmoor, if she shows up and can run anymore, is going to get to the front and make this horse, this field, the pay. I don't think I want to bet her at anything like 6-5 or 7-5 where she's going to be, but the other horse I am going to be using is the number 2, Get Explicit. I want to fool around with her, and that's your top pick.
Yeah, I'll try and beat Hawksmoor with that horse. I won't be surprised when Hawksmoor wires this field, but I just feel like I could easily take a shot against her. I just don't like her form from last year.
Fair enough. Mike 2-6 in here. I'm going 6, 2, 5, and 9 in the Grade 3 Endeavour, one of several stakes at Tampa Bay on Saturday. Remember to sign up for a DRF Bets account. DRF Bets. Ready, set, bet. Approximate post time for the Grade 3 Endeavour on Saturday is 4:52 Eastern. Good luck.